Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I'm finally getting around to doing my paper pumpkin alternatives for the July kit. And the July kit is called Picnic Parade, and the kit makes up the way they suggest that you make it, these cute little projects here. And they've got the materials to make 4 picnic baskets and to make 12 3x3 cards, large apples, large blueberries, and large strawberries. And if you follow me, you know that what I have a tendency to do is to try to figure out what else you can do with the kit. So I think these are darling. This is a darling set. And I think that this is just great fun to put together just the way it is. In fact, I've saved a couple of these. I think I'm going to make up a couple of these baskets and fill them with goodies as giveaways for drawings at my card class coming up later this month. And so what I'm going to do is show you 3 different alternatives that I figured out to do with the materials from this kit. And by and large, it's just the materials from this kit. I did use a couple of extra markers, but I think you could do that with just sponging from the original ink pad that comes with this kit. So let's just get started, and I'll show you the 3 kits that I made. What I did here is, well, let me show you the components of the kit. So the kit comes with, of course, your glue dots, and this is the stamp set. And let me show it to you on the back of this. There are a couple of little background stamps, and I didn't use them on this, but I think I'll use them in the remake here. There's a to from, a for you, thinking of you, thank you, enjoy, and for you. So it's a cute little stamp set, very versatile, and it looks like it's got a little stitch mark thing. And when I did mine, I did my own stitch marks before I realized there was a stamp in the kit to do it. So there's 2 pages of these labels, and these labels are die cut labels. And so there's one that's fish-tailed on both ends, and these are all in white, and one that is rounded on both ends, and then one that has got a concave shape on both ends. And there's 2 pages of these labels to use in the kit. Then there are these card bases, and there are 12 of these. I guess they're soft suede soft suede card bases. And then there's these cute little envelopes that come with it for your 3x3 cards. The one with the apple, the one with the strawberry, and the one with the blueberries. And so those are the envelopes. And then it comes with these large sheets. And you know, I didn't check to see exactly how big they are. They are 8x8, and they come in this pretty, I think this is Granny Apple Green, and then in the blue gingham and in the red gingham. And it just gives you all kinds of possibilities of what to do with this paper. Then there are the die cut strawberries. Aren't those cute? In 2 sizes, sort of a large and a small. Then there are die cut apples. There's 6 of those, and 4 of the large strawberries and 5 of the small. Then there are these blueberries, and you can see it's got a little piece that punches out of just like the top of a blueberry. Then it's got a sticker page of leaves in the Granny Apple Green. Then it's got these little jar tags. They are so cute. They're die cut, and they pop out, and then there's a little hole that you can pop out here, and you can put some of the twine that comes with this, and there's some white twine that comes with this, and make a little tag like they've done here for the outside of the basket. And here there are 2 each of each color, red, green, and blue. Then there are a couple pages of this vellum, gingham vellum die cut here. And let's see, let me put this on something that's easier for you to see. Yeah, on the blue, I think it shows up. And this is one that you would use, according to the way they showed it there, to put on the front of your card base, then to continue to decorate the front of the card base. And so there's a couple sheets of that. Then there are these pieces, and this is the 3D pieces that are scored and ready to go to make your 3D baskets. Isn't that just the cutest thing in the world? And they're scored, and they've got a pattern embossed on them, and they're just really very, very cute. Then there are these pieces that basket handles that will go around the basket like this and make handles. Then let's see, there's this piece. This is the piece long brim sticker. These are stickers, and they go around the brim of the basket and hold the basket together. That's what holds these 4 sides together. This is scored in such a way, and it's sticker, so it sticks to the basket and then wraps around to hold the pieces, the sides together. And then you put the basket handle, and there's a little package of brads that comes with this to affix the handles on the baskets. And let's see, I think that's it. So there's, and of course, your dimensionals and a few things like that, and of course your instructions that tell you on the back everything you're supposed to have in your kit, and then the instructions, detailed instructions on the inside, always with this handy little ruler at the bottom that shows you exactly how to put everything together. So a lovely little kit, really a fun one, and I think this one sold out. I'm not positive. Somebody said to me that they had let their subscription lapse by accident, and then were so disappointed because they went in to see if they could pick up the kit, and all that was available for this one is a refill. And it was so popular, I doubt that that'll last very long as well. So let me show you exactly what I did to put together the cards the way I did them here in my alternatives. So I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way here. I used a vanilla 8.5 by 5.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4 very vanilla card base for this card, and then I used a white card base, a whisper white card base for these 2 cards here. And so I'll show you now exactly what I did to make these 2. Okay, so I have my card bases here. Okay, so let's start with this one. So I've got my very vanilla card base here, and what I did was I used one of the little 3x3 card bases, or 3x6, I guess it is, and I sliced the one side off, and just basically what I did was take the score mark out of both sides. And so I used one for my card front, and then I used the other one for all the sentiment pieces that I put on the cards here. So we'll set one up here and get one prepared to go here. Now, what I used here was a couple of these vellum gingham pieces here. There we go. I've got 2 of them here. Oops, that one didn't come all the way off. All right. So, and what I did was I just put one of these gingham pieces here just right in the corner of each of these, of the corners of this piece. And you'll notice that one edge is scalloped and one edge is plain on these pieces. So I thought it would be fun so that the scallop showed a little bit, and in order to get it to show the most, I suppose I ought to put them on this way because this side is the piece that shows the most. So I am going to use my vellum tape runner here and just put a little bit of the runner on 2 sides and put that into place on my card. None of these are very difficult, and for the most part they're pretty fast. So there we go. We've got that all prepped and ready to go. And here's the piece I'm going to do my decorating on. The other piece that I didn't show you in the kit was this piece, and this is the short brim sticker. So this was the sticker that when you put on the basket, the one went around the corner, then this one would go on the side where you could see where it came together and hide that join. And so what I did was very simply, I used a ruler and decided how wide this piece of paper was. And it was 3 inches wide, so I marked it at 1.5 inches here on the piece of paper. And I put a little tick mark. And then I went up and took half. So I took 2 full stickers and the half of another sticker. And you can see if I bring this up where my pencil mark is here. And so what I've done is used my snip and took this bottom piece off, cut it straight across, and then took this piece off of the sticker here. I'm going to take it off of here and just lay it up here for the moment. There we go. And then what I did on this bottom piece is I indented here. Let's see if I remember right. Let me see if I can do the measurements again here. These pieces cut in half are 1 1/4, just a tiny bit more than 1 1/4. I came in on this bottom piece 1/4 inch on either side of the sticker. So I'm going to put a little tick mark there, and then I'm going to do the same here, put a little tick mark there at the 1/4 inch. All right, so there you can see I've got my little tick marks 1/4 inch in on either side. And then I took my snips and I cut from that point up to the end of the second strip. And what I'm doing is making a flower pot shape. So I'm going to come from here and just come straight up to that corner. So there we have that. And so I'm going to peel that off, and I also trimmed this little piece here just a little bit so that I got a tiny angle here on both sides. I just really want to get the very minimum of an angle here. And let's see, I need my silicone mat. So I'm going to set this down here to stick there because I want to put this piece together so that I can color it. So I'm taking these pieces off, and what I did was I set this piece here and then this piece on top of here, it looks like on this one compared to the one I did here, I cut the pot a little bit less deeply. So in maybe 1/8 of an inch and then up to the end. But I can solve that by making my base a little bit shorter too. So I'm going to clip off a little bit on both sides here, so it's not so out of scale. But there I've got my base to my little pot there. And then I'm going to take this half piece here. I'm going to cut along that pencil mark that I made at 1/2 and cut that sticker there and take that piece off. And that is going to be my pot lid. And I'm going to again just take a tiny little sliver off of both of those corners, and I'm going to show you on my scissors. That's how tiny that is. Just a sliver, just so that you get the hint of an angle. And then I'm going to move that right to the top of the pot here so that it looks like a pot rim. So right to the top there, and there I've made my little pot that I'm going to do. All right, so what I did was, since this kit was using soft suede, I decided to use my soft suede marker, and you can see that I went along the pot rim here and just kind of colored it in. Nothing precise about this coloring, just get the color on. And then I went around on this side. I covered the bottom again and a little bit on this side. And then what I did was I used my Cajun Craze, and if you have any kind of a brick color marker, that will work just beautifully. And I went over the same spots I did before and covered up the inside of the pot body here. So there we go. We've got a little flower pot. Now, here's my card base, and you can see that in order to make everything fit, I put the base of my little pot here, right down here, right along the bottom. And then I'm going to pick these pieces up and lay them down here on my card. So there is my little flower pot. So there we go. And I might have even used a little pumpkin pie to get, I think I did, used a little pumpkin pie to get a little softer color on there. And there we go. There we have our pot all ready to go. Then I used, so this one is Call Me Clover. And what I did was I just drew in some little leaf kinds of sprigs here in my pot, just giving the impression that there's some kind of greenery coming out of this pot. And this is, use your imagination. If you have a little grass stamp, that would be great. But I wanted to have some of the greenery coming out here. Okay, so there we have some greenery coming out of our little pot, and I'm going to just lay a little greenery right along the edge here to make it look a little bit more filled in. And then just whatever you'd like in the way of leaves here. Okay, then what I did was I took the page of Blueberries, and there are 15 blueberries here. And all I was interested in for this was the little punch outs here at the top, because when I looked at them at first, I thought they looked to me like little flowers. So what I'm going to do is cut out, well, I think on this card I drew in 2 and put on 4. And so that allows you to get several cards out of this. And then I did put 1 on the inside. So let me just take 5 of these and let's see what we can do with 5 of them. Because if you did 5, that would allow you to make 3 of these cards by just using 1 row each of the little punch outs. And this doesn't hurt the kit at all, because in the kit, when you make up the cards the way they want you to, they don't use these pieces at all. So that's 5. So that's all I'm going to use for this. And what I did was I took my blueberry bushel marker, you could take any blue marker that you had, and took the one that was sort of the most defined, and I just drew around it, drew around this little cutout here on my greenery. And once you get the idea, you can see that that's really all it is. It's just a little thing like this that makes the flower. And so on this one, I think what I'm going to do is draw in, a couple of them. There we go. And then I'm just going to color them in using my marker to get the little blue flower. Okay, there we go. So I've drawn in actually quite a few, because I thought it would be a way to extend your supplies. So if we drew in those and we only raised up 3 of them, then you might be able to get a few more cards out of this same kit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise 3 of them, and what I'm going to do to use to do that is on this one I used little pieces of dimensional on some of them, but then I used some glue dots, and that seemed to work actually a little bit better because these pieces are so small. So what I did was I put a glue dot on the back of each of these little pieces, and then I took another glue dot and folded it over on itself and layered that one on top. So we would get a little dimension off of that flower. It would be raised a little. There we go. So 2 glue dots on the back of each one of these little, I don't know what these are, the tops of the blueberries, I guess is what I'm going to call them. And so 1 full one, and then 1 folded over on itself and laid on top, which gives a little bit more height to my little blueberry flower here. And then what I did was to add a little bit of additional detail. I used some tiny little pearls in the centers of each of the flowers. Now, in addition, it looked and felt just a little plain to me, and so I thought I would use my gel pen, my white gel pen, and just add some stitching marks . All right, now then that piece looks like it's all ready to go on our card. Now we have the other piece of the other half of that card front, and I need my thank you. I thought that one was appropriate for this, to put on my block here. And So there's my thank you. And I think for this, I'll use my full-size soft suede ink to do my inking up here. And that looks like that's in pretty good shape here. And I'm going to move it over maybe to this side. There we go. And that way I can trim this down and flag one end, and then my stamping for this one will be complete. So I'm just going to snip this off of here. I'm just going to take my snips and do a shallow flag on the end of this tag. There we go, and I'll use my dimensionals. Use a couple of dimensionals on the back of this tag, and that card is really close to being ready to put together. I'm going to go ahead and add my stitching. I did put dark stitching then to mimic what I did on the card front on the sides here that don't have the vellum. Okay, now I just need a couple of dimensionals on the back of my focal piece here. And this card is ready to put together. Okay, so what I did on the inside is I kept it very simple. I just put a couple of sprigs of green down here on the bottom, and I added, with a little bit of snail here, another of my little blueberry tops here, to put this little flower down on the inside of this card. And there we have it. So that is the first card being done. You can see there's slight variations in the pot. And you know, I think what I did on this one is that I used the soft suede and then I used the pumpkin pie and not the Cajun craze. But if what you have is soft suede, you can do it with a sponge and then add whatever other orangey color you have to it to do that. Or you can just color the whole pot in the soft suede with a sponge and be done with it. So there we go. That's the first card. The second card that I'm going to do is this one. And this is another one that's really pretty simple to do. And the first thing we're going to do is to take out one of our sheets here of the red gingham. I'm going to bring up my trimmer here, and I'm going to cut one of these sheets at 4 inches. Cuts very easily. And then I'm going to cut this, so I cut it at 4 inches, and then I'm going to cut it at 5 1/4, because that would be like a whole card front. Now then, I want this to sit down in this corner. So the only thing you have to do is watch how you're cutting this piece to fit on here. Because if you just grabbed it and you cut it the other way, because the pattern isn't on the other side, you'll never get it to lay down quite right, or you'd have to put your gingham up here on the top, and I kind of liked it down here. So in order to do that, I know that I have to cut this way. So I'm going to put both of those corners in a cutting channel here, and I'm going to start, because this is so delicate, I'm going to start with my cutter blade in the middle of this tissue. so that I don't tear anything by accident. And so there we go. I have my piece that I can put on my card front. So I'm going to take my white card front and I'm going to lay this piece down here, and I'm just going to use a little bit of snail. And again, this is very delicate stuff, so you want to be cautious as you put your adhesive down. Get a little bit in your corners and be gentle with it because you don't want to tear your paper. And then lay this down so that it fits in this corner here. And there we go. All right. Now, to prep the apples, what I did was I took my apple pieces out, and there were these little pieces of red here that I punched out of all of the apples, and I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with them, but I'm going to do something else with them. Anyway, so I need 2 apples for this card front, and what I used was my Pierce mat and a ball tool, and I think the back of your pokey tool would work as well. And what I did was I went around the rim just inside the edge to get an impression, and I'll bring this up so you can see it, and I hope you can see that. You can see where I've added a little bit of dimension to that, and it's just inside the edge of the rim of the apple. And then what I'm going to do is use my ball tool to continue to cut down the fiber on that. And what's going to happen is as I work this, my apple is going to get this kind of look that is bent over a bit. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something with a little bit more dimension. I'm happy with that. I'm going to do that to both apples. So again, I'm going to come around the edges here, and you can see I've already got that curvature, and then I'm just going to put that curvature on the rest of the apple here so that I'm making the apple look more 3D. Okay, and so there are my 2 apples that have that little bit of dimension, and all I'm going to do, this is the simplest card in the world, is to take some dimensionals, and for this I used mini dimensionals, and there's some in the kit, and right now I don't know where mine are, so I'm just going to use some for my stash here. And I am going to put dimensionals on the back side of this apple on 4 sides here, and then 1 in the middle, so that you're recessed from the end, because when I put these down, I want them to continue that curve. And I'm going to lay this one slightly the other direction, and then we are going to take advantage of the stickers that are the leaves in this kit, and we are going to add the leaves to the apples here. Okay, so there are my apples, and then what I did was I took the For You stamp, and let me clean off these stamps so I can get them put away. I don't know if you've used one of these chamois, but they are awesome. I really, really enjoy this thing. Okay, now I feel like I've got a space to work again. And so I'm going to take my For You and ink it up in my soft suede here, and I'm going to place that right here on the corner of that card. Hold that in place for a second to get a good image, and there we go. And then on the inside, what I decided to do was I took this piece here, and I cut right along one of these edges to just get an outline here. And it's real easy to cut straight. You just follow the pattern. And this piece I can use again for my picnic basket. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of snail on this piece as well. And put this on the inside of my card for my decoration. I've got a fan going in here and it's just blowing everything around. There we go. Put that in place down the side of my card, and there we have our second card. Very easy card to do. They've done most of the work for you. So there, oh, I did put some Wink of Stella on the apples to give them a little bit of shine. I was trying to figure out how I could make sure that my apples had some shine on them, and I decided to use the Wink of Stella. And the only other thing I did on the front of this card was, it bothered me, and it's silly, but that my stems on this were red and not regular brown stems. So I did color my stems in on my apples. And this would be advisable to do before you stick it on your card, so that you don't make a mistake. But there you go. That's nice and complete. So I've got my 2 little flower pot cards and my 2 little apple cards, and this is the next card that I decided to make. So in here what I have is this basket that I am deconstructing. So I'm just going to use the edge of this basket here, and I'm just going to snip along the edge here, and you sure could use your trimmer to do this if you'd like, but it's got a nice straight edge to follow. So I used this, and I gave my picnic basket a little dimension here, and I cut a little sliver up here just so that it had a little dimension here, and I did the same thing coming down from this side. Just took a little sliver off so it wasn't quite so square. And I did the same thing up here and cut my basket edges so that it wasn't so square. Okay, so now what we have is that little piece of that we cut out of here, and that is what I decided to use as my picnic napkin that I might have in here. And that's about all I need. So I'm going to cut this down. And this piece then ends up being longer than I need. And so I just put a little pleat in it, just like it was a real napkin that would be in my basket, and made it so that it would fit and hang over the edge of the basket. And so that is what I'm going to do here. And then I'm just going to fold this over the edge so I know right where that needs to go on there. And so now I'm going to use a little bit of snail along the inside of this paper here, tissue, and a little on the bottom there, and then just go ahead and put that back in place. This one has a sign on, it says basket base here, and I don't need that showing. So get this placed on here at that fold that we just made, and get that put into place on my basket. Trim off any edges that show, and there I've got my little basket all ready to go. Now, what I did for the my little pieces of bread is I took one of these tags that was rounded, and I rounded it a little bit more so that it might look like the edge of a nice piece of French bread. So again, rounding on both sides here. And I wish there was something to make a little piece of cheese out of. And I suppose if I thought about it long enough, I could figure it out. But so I cut this piece about 1/3 and 2/3 the way. And then I used my dark, soft suede marker here, and I put some marks on this just like it would be if it was a piece of French bread. And then I used some crumb cake here because it's a lighter color, and colored over my bread. And then, to make it look a little bit more like bread and like it might have been baked, I went over it with a little yellow to get that sort of warm brown color combination on there. And that is all there is to making the bread. And so what I did was I used some glue dots on the fronts of my little pieces of bread here, way down on the bottoms. And then I placed my bread here on the inside of my basket. Maybe I'll try sticking that on the inside and then sticking the bread to that. There we go. So there's my little 2 pieces of bread. Then what I did was I fussy cut out, and I'll show you where they came from. I fussy cut out a couple of these pieces from the outside of the little envelopes that are provided. So these little envelopes have these little pieces of fruit on them, and what I did was I fussy cut out some of those little pieces of fruit to get these pieces. And then for the wine bottle, so I took another one of these labels here, and I just used my marker to, if I were making a wine bottle here, I might use that as the base, and then have my wine bottle top be up here. So I need a neck to my wine bottle, and then I need for my bottle to have that kind of a shape in order to look a little bit like a wine bottle. And then on this, I decided to just make a little label and put some scribbles on it. And then I I cut out my little wine bottle. So, and this is a handmade card, right? So my wine bottle isn't that believable. But for what I'm doing on here, I thought it was just fine. So I'm going to cut out my little wine bottle here, and I'm going to stick it on this end of my basket, and again using a glue dot down here on the bottom of the wine bottle, and then putting that into place here. Then I placed an apple and a strawberry up here, and then laid some of the blueberries down on the bottom. So I'm going to put a tiny little bit of glue on the bottom of my strawberry and stick it into place here in my basket. The same thing with my apple. So while this looks fairly complicated, it really is pretty simple. And there's my apple, so it looks like my picnic basket is full. Now what I'm going to do is turn this over and put a few dimensionals on the back of this basket, and I can lay some of them right over some of these little pieces that I'm putting in my basket, so I make sure they stay put. Okay, so there is my picnic basket all ready to go, and my blueberries. Now we just have to set up the card base itself. Okay, so here's my second white card base, and what I have done here is I put this on a raised separate panel. So this top panel piece is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's going to hold all of my elements. So what I have now is the other half of my gingham sheet that I used for this other piece here, and I'm going to cut this at, let's see, I'm going to cut this at 4 inches square. I think that will be just fine. And then I'm going to cut this in half on the diagonal, and again I'm just going to put it in the cutting channel and cut off the pieces. So here I have what I'm using as my little picnic tablecloth, if you will, and deciding where I want that on my card. And what I did was I put the point to the bottom of this piece, and I added a little bit of snail to the back of this piece here. Again, very delicate, so you have to be careful on this. And then I'm laying this across my page so that that tablecloth is coming along the bottom. And then I'm just going to take these two pieces and wrap them around the back side. Now on this one, I colored the twine, and it ended up being very challenging to do. And what I did was I ran it across my ink pad a couple of times and then let it dry. And you can do that. You can use the linen thread that Stampin' Up! Sells. I want lots on one end here so that I have plenty to make a bow. And I'm going to wrap this around 3 times. And then give myself a nice long tail on this end also for my bow. Okay, so there we go. I think maybe I want it a little bit more to one side than the other. And see if I can't tie it down. So there I've tied a little bit of a knot there. And I'm going to tie my bow down here. There we go. And then reduce its size a little bit. And snip off my ends. And I might secure that knot down with a glue dot. I don't want that moving around. So I'm going to slide that under the knot and put the knot right on top of that glue dot. There we go. All right, so there we have our piece, and I am just about ready to put on my picnic basket here. And you know, I did have a thought that, let me grab my ink again, that this looked awfully plain up behind here. And there are these little background stamps inside of this kit. One that is just these little lines, and one that has got some different hash marks. And what I thought might be kind of interesting to try on this one would be to stamp off a couple times so that my background here is really pretty light. And put some of these background images, if you will, on the back of this, just to add a little bit of interest. And then put on my piece so it isn't quite so stark. All right, so we're ready to assemble. So now, let me get my card base here. And this piece actually just went on here with snail. So this piece is going to go on here like that. And then my picnic basket here is all ready to go with its dimensionals on it. And I'm going to set that in place here on this side. And then I've got my couple of blueberries here, and I'm going to put this one on because it's got a little bit of greenery on it and kind of breaks up this stuff down here, and put at least one additional blueberry on the bottom of my picnic base here. Then this stamp set has a little stamp that says enjoy, and I thought with all of this food stuff that would be pretty nice. So I'm going to take that little piece of card that was left here, and using my soft suede ink, see if I can get my enjoy down here on straight. There we go, perfect. So now I'm just going to use my trimmer to cut that little piece down, and I'm not going to flag this one. Add this piece right down here. I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals again. And there we go. I've got my enjoy message. Now, the thing I did on this one is that I took my marker and I did add stitch marks all along the edge here. Okay, so there is my paper pumpkin alternative kit for July in August. Well, sometimes I had out-of-town guests this month, and so it kind of threw everything back a little bit. So here we go. There's our 2 picnic baskets, our 2 apples, and our For You design, and our 2 little flower pot thank you cards. So those are my alternatives this time for the paper pumpkin. And I want to thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. The paper pumpkin kit, you can subscribe on my 24/7 shop, www.lbedinger.stampinup.net, and every month I put up an alternative full-size cards that one can make with the kit that you get sent from Paper Pumpkin. This one was a particularly darling kit, and I will probably make up a few cards and a couple of baskets just the way they suggest as well. So this maybe stretches your material a little bit and gets you a few full-sized cards and maybe sparks your imagination so that you can come up with your own designs. In any case, let's see, what's new in Stampin' Up? My goodness, that's quite a bit actually. In August, it's bonus days. Bonus days are back. So for every $50 you spend in the month of August, you get a $5 coupon to redeem in September. And there is no limit. So if you put in a big order, you're going to get an email from Stampin' Up! With some coupon codes to use in September. One point about the coupon codes is guard them with your life. They cannot be replaced. They do not keep a copy of them. So you want to take those coupon codes and print them out, put them someplace, and save those emails so that you can get back to those when you post your, when you make your orders in September. The limited time offer, the card that I made last time, that I did a video, was the Colorful Seasons, using the Colorful Seasons stamp set. And then there's a limited time offer through the month of August. That stamp set and die set is available. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful. This is the card I made with that stamp set. And then I just recently did this flower here. I was experimenting. These I did with Stampin' Blends, and these I did with watercolor pencils. Isn't that just gorgeous? I'm in love with this stamp set. So there's dies, stitch dies, there's florals, there's Christmas, there's Thanksgiving, all on this one set. It's fabulous. And then there's also an offer for 12 more watercolor pencils in new colors from Stampin' Up! That are available for order during the month of August. And then I think those watercolor pencils will come back and be part of a permanent selection, but the floral stamp is only going to be available for a limited time. The third thing that's going on with Stampin' Up! In August is that there's an offer for folks that have never subscribed to Paper Pumpkin before. You'll get your first kit at 50% off. So that's a great thing, and you saw a little bit of what the Paper Pumpkin kits are. They're wonderful. They're just a lot of fun. They're great to take with you on travel because really all you need is scissors and glue if you make them up the way they suggest. and it's kind of a fun thing to take along. My prize draw for the month of August is the Tropical Chic bundle. So it's this stamp set, and you've seen me make a card out of this, and then this die set. And let me show you these dies because they're absolutely gorgeous. So this set is my prize draw for the month of August. By the way, congratulations to Karen Paul, who won the Stamparatus last month for my prize draw. And all you have to do to qualify to be entered into the prize draw is to place an order with me on my online store. So this is the die set. Look at these beautiful tropical leaves. This cuts out this flower. Then this is a whole panel of leaves. It's just really pretty. And then these palms and just different colored kinds of leaves that are in this. It's a wonderful set. So this is the prize draw for the month of August. Again, thank you so much for stopping by. I do so appreciate it. And I'll be back soon with more cards and more projects. Bye.